Welcome everyone, this is Izzy at Minerva. Today's video we are looking at how to adapt our bodice block to create a beautiful halterneck top. The halterneck top that we've chosen to draft out today has a fitted top and a neckline with a really simple tie that ties around the back and then just flows down into the waist so it's fully fitted. Obviously this is just a starting point to demonstrate different techniques of how to draw the lines and the shapes on your block. You may well want to adapt that, you may want to add gathers to remove the dart volume, or you may want to just add more ease in as well. You do what you want to do, and I hope you find this halterneck top video really helpful. Before you start and join along with me today, do grab your pattern drafting tools, which are listed next to me right here. Your bespoke body block will be different to the one you see on the screen because that's mine, but the techniques are exactly the same, so you can follow along step by step. Right, let's get going. So I have my front bodice here and my back bodice here. We'll start our drafting on the front bodice block. Please do just trace over your bodice block before you start cutting it out. You don't want to be cutting out your original block. So trace over your block and pop it in front of you like I've done here. The first thing we want to do is to remove the volume from the top dart up here and put it down into the waist. So find the halfway point of your waist dart and join that line up to your apex. This becomes the center of your waist dart. Then just draw in your new waist dart legs and extend the dart line up to the apex. Next, remove the volume of that dart by cutting along your new dart lines. Next, remove the volume from your shoulder dart. Just close up the top shoulder dart now and open up the waist dart using the apex as your pivot point. Perfect. Next, we're just going to draw in a line from the armscye up to the neckline. Now, depending on where you want your halterneck to kind of start and stop at the neckline, you can draw that line wherever you want it to sit on your front. So you may want it to be sort of closer and narrower up at the top before the strap ties come in, or you may want to bring it right up to the top of your shoulders up here and bottom of your neck, top of your shoulder, and bring it in at that point. This is a design choice for you to choose where you want this line to hit the neckline. So find a nice point along here and just draw in that line. Next, just cut out that shape. Fundamentally, this is now the shape for our halterneck front. We've just got one nice great big dart down here, which is fantastic, and then we're going to add a tie in up here, which we'll do in a little bit. First of all, let's move on to our back bodice and just make the changes that we want to at this point. Now we're going to have our tie coming in at the top, so we're going to remove all of this volume here from the fabric. We just really want the bottom bit down here to still work with the front. So our front side seam is here, and that's going to start and stop still right under the armscye, and the same for our side seam of our back. So the length of these need to be the same. Now you could extend the curve of the armscye up a little bit and you could draw a line across up here. However, I'm actually just going to cut and draw a line right under the armscye. So mark a point along the centre back that is maybe 10 centimetres from the bottom of your waist. You want that line to sit nice and perpendicular, so just extend it out about 2 centimetres. And then draw a nice curve to tie in with that and to match in with your armscye. You can remove this whole piece here, we don't need that at all. Now at this point you'll probably have a dart like I do with two lines like that, and all we want to do is just remove the volume of the dart, so cut it out next. Take the volume out and then just join up those two nicely. Make sure they're matching up at the waistline. You may have a little bit of a hitch point here. Don't worry about that, we'll draft that out in a minute. The only other thing that we need to draw out is going to be the tie that goes along our neckline. Now this is going to come from here and just tie around the back into a nice bow at the back. So depending on the style that you want to go for, you may want to do a nice big wide fat bow, make it really dramatic at the back, or you may just want sort of like a pencil thin bow at the back. It's completely up to you. I'm going to draw my tie just at 1.5 centimetres, and the length of it that I'm going to draw just going to be 40 centimetres long. Now obviously the length of the bow, you might want really nice long bow that just goes, you know, all the way down to your waist. It's really dramatic, or you may want like a really tiny little one. Draft it out and then cut it down to size. Always better to cut it longer than too short. So grab a new piece of paper and just draw a line that is 40 centimetres long and the width that you want. For me, that's just 1.5 centimetres, and then just cut that out. Fantastic. Once you've got all of your pattern block pieces adjusted and cut down to the shape that you want, we then need to make them into pattern pieces. So we're going to add our seam allowances and our annotation as required. As normal with this series, we won't be doing finishes or lining or facings or anything like that. So we're only going to add seam allowances to where the pieces are going to join it together. I won't be adding seam allowances to underneath the arms or anything like that. If you're doing this for final and this is your final one, don't forget to add the seam allowances for your linings or your facings as you need to. We'll start off with the front bodice, straight down at the centre front because that will be cut on the fold, then draw around the neckline. And for us, we're just going to follow the new neckline all the way down to the arm side. Add a seam allowance to the side seam. We have no seam allowance to the waist because we're not attaching it to anything at this point. Mark the centre point of the dart along the waistline. Then following that line all the way up to the apex, mark a point that is just 2 centimetres offset from the apex. So it's lining up with the centre of the bust dart at the waist down here. And then I want you just to draw in your new dart legs. So basically we're just drawing in our dart offset 2 centimetres from the apex. And this helps just to create a nice round shape in that area. Okay, let's annotate our pattern piece as required. Place unfold. The grain line is going to follow the centre front. Halterneck top, front cut 1 unfold. Now then, the shape of our curve of the back pattern piece is in need of a little bit of attention, just because when we joined up the two together, we lost that nice shape of that curve. So we're just going to draft that in again and just draw it in again so it's just a bit softer and follows that shape a bit more nicely. Add the seam allowance to the side where it's going to attach to the front. And likewise with the waist, we're just going to curve off that shape a little bit. We don't want a harsh line across the waist. Right, then what we need to do is just finish off the strap. So we need to double the width of the strap and then we need to add our seam allowance on. So to start off with, let's add our seam allowance to the sides. Start off with, we're going to add our 1.5 centimetre seam allowance to the top of this strap line here. Draw that in. My strap is 1.5 centimetres long and I want it to have the right side facing all the way around the strap because it's going to tie it back and you're going to see it. So I want the overall width to be another 1.5 centimetres. And then I need to add my seam allowance as well. So I'm going to draw another line parallel to my strap line at 3 centimetres. Add your seam allowance to the top and the bottom of the strap. Grain line, halterneck top, strap tie, cut 2. Oh, we didn't actually annotate this bottom one, did we? So let's go back and do that now. Grain line is just going to follow the centre back. Halterneck top, back, cut 2. Brilliant. Once you've done that, cut out your tracing paper pattern pieces and then cut it out of calico or your fabric of choice. Okay, so we've got 3 pieces for a halterneck top. We've cut out the strap tie, the back and the front. We're going to start off just by sewing the dart in the front. If you're not sure how to sew up a dart accurately, please refer back to video 22 where I talk you through really nicely and clearly how to sew up a dart. I'm going to be using contrasting thread on my machine just so that you can see really nicely and clearly my stitch lines as I'm sewing. However, you'll probably want to use matching thread. Lovely. Once you've sewn those 2 darts, you can then press them towards the side. So we'll take one of these halterneck top pieces, and the first thing we want to do, imagine this is the wrong side facing up. We simply just want to fold over one end by about 7 millimeters, and then again by another 7 millimeters. Okay, so we've got a nice neat finish at that point. We're then going to fold the fabric with right sides together along the length of the strip and just pin that in place. Next, we're going to sew all the way along that line. At this point, we just want to trim the seam allowance in half just to remove some of the bulk. Repeat that whole process for the other one. Now we just want to turn these two straps the right way around. So grab a safety pin and pop it through one end, just through one layer of fabric actually. And then just pop that safety pin onto the inside of the strap tie and just pull the fabric right side facing out. We'll then go and iron that in a minute, but let's just turn the other one the right way around first. Once you've turned both of those straps the right way around, just go and press them so they're looking nice and neat and sharp. Now at this point you may just want to sew the ends up together, the ones that we folded under and under again, and just sew a little line of stitches along the short end at that point. Wonderful. Okay, so let's go back to attaching the back to the front. So we've got our halterneck top back, and with right sides together we're just going to pin along the side seams and then just sew them in place using your 1.5 centimeter seam allowance. Don't forget then to just press those seams open before you move on. Okay, so we only have one more step to do, which is simply to sew the ties to the top. Now don't forget, we've not added a seam allowance along this stretch here, so all we need to really do is just pop these underneath there and just sew them in place. Obviously if you were attaching a lining to this, which I would recommend, or a facing if you're doing it for your final garment, you would be sandwiching this in between the two as well. So just pin those in place and then we will stitch them in place. Alright, so now we've sewn that, let's go take a look at it and see what it looks like. Beautiful. So this is quite a simple top to draft, but the effect is really lovely. You can imagine this top being attached onto a lovely glamorous full skirt, or even a fitted skirt if you put the two together to make a really gorgeous dress. I just love the simplicity of this and the ease of kind of the fit around the neck. It's just a really lovely detail. So thank you for joining me today. Hope you found that really helpful and interesting as ever. If you've got any comments, please do feel free to pop them below the video. We always love to hear from you here at Minerva. And don't forget, you can create your free account on our Minerva website and upload your photos of your pattern drafting experiments there. I would absolutely love to see those, so please do pop those there for us to see. Thanks for joining us today. I'll see you next time.